Hello from Gardening at Douentza here in Ireland, and you're very welcome to this video all about my top 10 wish list plants. Now on this list you'll find a variety of mostly pot plants, tender souls that can't be grown outdoors in my part of the world anyway, and they're nearly all exceedingly rare. So get ready to drool, because here come the most amazing beauties that I'm sure you'll fall in love with too. To start with, number 10 on my wish list of plants is an Aloe hybrid called Christmas Sleigh. Now this is a toothed beauty with vibrant red spikes, and is one that you need to see to believe. Everyone who sees this plant immediately wants to own it. And like most of the exciting Aloe hybrids out there, this is a Kelly Griffin hybrid. Kelly Griffin is a succulent breeder from ALTMAN Plants, the largest grower of succulents and cacti in the US. And Kelly is renowned for his Aloe hybrids, which are unusual, colourful and new to the nursery marketplace. Look out for his beauties and look out for Aloe Christmas Sleigh. Number 9 on my list of desirable plants is a Streptocarpus called Heart of Kai. Now it's quite apt that this plant is number 9 on my list, because my obsession with Streptocarpus stems from 9 years ago, when I was first captivated by the fabulous hybrids of the Ukrainian Pavel Enikejov. Hope I pronounced that correctly. It seemed to me that Pavel's masterpiece was Heart of Kai, with its large, flouncy, purple flowers covered in delicate white netting and with a white ruffle to the petal edges. The Streptocarpus hybrids of Enikejov from Dimitris are by far my favourite Streptocarpus, and the cultivar name of these plants, it's always prefixed by DS. So for example, Streptocarpus DS Kai Heart. Now, Dimitris has a complicated naming procedure where hybrids are first named in Russian, and then later on they're given their accepted English translation name. But they are hard to get, as plants require CITES certification when they are exported from Russia to either the US or to the EU. Now, I did once get my hands on a Heart of Kai on eBay, which I bought. But when it arrived, the neck of the plant was broken, and unfortunately, although I tried to propagate it by leaf cuttings, it failed. So from then until now, Streptocarpus DS Kai Heart has remained on my wish list of plants, and I will continue looking out for it. The next plant on my wish list is a variegated grass called Arundo, donax, Variegata, and I first came across this beauty in the writings of Christopher Lloyd. Now, Christopher Lloyd is an English gardening writer famous for his tropical garden at Great Dixter in England, and he wrote prolifically for many years, and all of his books are well worth reading. I used to read them with a highlighter, marking plants to look out for, and practically digest the books whole. Anyway, this grass is amazing and tall and beautiful, and its cream variegation is gorgeous and it's hardy. Now, the variegation serves to make the grass less vigorous, which is a good thing, because the non-vigorous form of this grass is a bit of a thug. And although I have seen Arundo donax for sale, the variegated form for sale, several times, it's never been with pronounced variegation. And this is a plant that you really need to see the plant when you're buying it to ensure that you get a specimen with attractive foliage. So don't buy it by mail order. I haven't found one yet, but I will keep looking out. Number 7 on my list is a Caudex plant with a long, complicated name, which I'm going to now put up on the screen because I can't remember it. But this plant, it's a succulent climber from South Africa that produces the overground structure so common of Caudex plants. It has many of the stereotypical attributes of Caudex plants. It has a succulent, water-retaining, rounded caudex above the ground. It's deciduous. It produces vigorous climbing tendrils when in active growth. It's dioecious, so that means each plant is either male or female. And I want this particular one because it's relatively fast growing and it has attractive ivy-shaped leaves. And a lot of the Caudex climbers, they have very unremarkable leaves. So this one is to look out for. Now, if you want more information about Caudex plants, then do take a look at the video I made a while ago, Introduction to Caudex Plants, Caudex video. And I made this at Kew Gardens and I'll link to that video at the end. But in the meantime, I'll continue my search for this unusual and desirable Caudex beauty. The next plant on my wish list is one that I really can never, ever have. But such minor considerations never stopped anyone from putting something on their wish list, did it? So this plant is Pleurophyllum speciosum, and it's also known as the Campbell Island daisy. It forms an enormous rosette up to 1.2 meters across of huge, broad, pleated leaves, and it bears pinkish purple to pale lilac flowers with maroon centres. Now, this plant is native to the uninhabited Auckland and Campbell subantarctic islands of New Zealand, and it's termed a megaherb. Megaherbs are a group of herbaceous perennial wildflowers growing in New Zealand on the subantarctic islands. And they're characterised by their giant size with huge leaves and very large, often unusual and beautiful flowers. Now these plants, they've evolved as an adaptation to the harsh weather conditions on those inhospitable islands. So the weather is largely wet, it's cold, it's extremely windy, and the soil is peaty, it's acidic and it's impoverished. And there's almost continual cloud cover, which means the islands experience really low light levels. Now, the megaherbs are unusual because generally speaking, harsh weather and poor soil conditions have a stunting effect on plants. But this hasn't happened with the megaherbs. And in fact, the megaherbs, they're subject to a biological phenomenon known as island gigantism. So this phenomenon means the size of an animal or plant species isolated on an island increases dramatically in comparison to its mainland relatives. And you can see this in some of the large flightless birds that they have around in New Zealand, like the moa. So most subantarctic megaherbs flower en masse in a cycle of approximately 3 years. So can you imagine that? You turn up on one of these islands, probably by boat that's gone through ice and snow, and the whole island is awash with just these amazing leaves and these amazing flowers. It would be an amazing sight to see. I think actually, in truth, this is a plant more to visit than to attempt to grow. It's actually prohibited to collect megaherbs or their seed or any part of the plants, but there are some specimens which were legally collected and are housed in the botanic gardens in New Zealand's South Island. And in fact, these specimens, they seem sickly and puny compared to the gorgeous specimens in the wild. So megaherbs have evolved to grow in very specific set of weather and soil conditions, those experienced on the subantarctic islands, and they fail to thrive in seemingly more benign conditions. But it's a wonderful thing and certainly something I will continue to dream about. The next plant on my wish list is a South African bulb akin to Masonia, and I'm sure you were wondering when one of the South African bulbs was going to pop up on this list. Now, you'll have recently seen my Masonia video. I made it 2 weeks ago, and in that I mentioned I was on the lookout for Daubenya zeyheri. And I'm completely fascinated by Masonia and Daubenya, which are actually the same genus really. I'm fascinated by the jewel-like nectar pools these bulbs produce. I'm fascinated by the fact that they're pollinated by mice. And of course, the bulbs are fabulously beautiful. The flowers are fabulously beautiful. So this Daubenya has magnificent orange flowers, making it shoot up my wish list as one to look out for. Moving on to number 4 on my wish list, and here we have a Cattleya orchid. And this orchid is Cattleya dowiana. Now, Cattleya dowiana is a magnificent beauty with yellow flowers and a large purple marked lip. And it has been used in a lot of hybridization because it's so beautiful. Flowers don't last for very long, but they are amazing. Anyone who sees this flower and grows Cattleyas undoubtedly wants to add it to their own wish list. But beware, because Cattleya dowiana, it's more difficult to grow than other Cattleyas. And it's one that's been on my wish list for a very long time. If you look back at previous tag videos that I made years ago, there's always Cattleya dowiana on there as one that I wanted to own. I've had several seedlings, but they all died. And in fact, I really don't grow many orchids, seedling orchids anymore, because they're too difficult. But I'm on the lookout for a flowering sized Cattleya dowiana, either the yellow aurea form or the pink rosita form, which is gorgeous. This would cost an absolute fortune if it could be found, but yeah, that's what the wish lists are for. And now we move on to number 3 on my wish list of plants, and it is a Haworthia with a catchy name. Its name is Haworthia cooperi OB1. Now, I'm fascinated by some of the fabulous Haworthias that are out there, the Japanese hybrids in particular, and they have jelly bean-like structures that are translucent. And this particular Haworthia has black at the base of each jelly bean-like structure, and this fades to translucence above. So when the light is behind the plant, they really look magical, like something that doesn't exist in nature. They're so gorgeous. So it's gorgeous and it's tiny and it's exorbitantly expensive, but that sounds just exactly like something that would be on my wish list, doesn't it? Okay, so now we move on to number 2 on my wish list, and here we have another fabulous Caudex plant called Ipomoea bolusiana. Now, I saw this one when I visited Kew Gardens more than a year ago, and I was enamored by its gorgeous beauty. So, like with the last Caudex on this list, this one is a succulent. It's dioecious, it's deciduous, it's tendril forming, it has a caudex. But what makes it really desirable is, from my point of view, is that it produces large purple flowers or lilac flowers. Now, caudices are not usually known for their flowers and they're quite insignificant, but this one produces beautiful big ones, similar to morning glories. So if I ever find one of these Ipomoeas, whether it's a small plant or a large plant, I'll definitely snap it up and add it to my collection. And now, finally, we come to the number 1 plant on my wish list. And I wonder, can any of you guess what it is? So this is a really good one. The hint is it's extremely rare. It's a living fossil. And in fact, number 1 on my wish list is, of course, Welwitschia mirabilis, the holy grail of plants. Now this is a dinosaur plant that has been around since dinosaur times, but has adapted itself to the inhospitable deserts of Namibia. Quirkily, it's a gymnosperm, which means it's an early division in the plant kingdom, and it produces cones. So like conifer trees, cones on a plant. Each individual Welwitschia can live up to 2,000 years. They say 1,500 to 2,000 years, but nobody knows for sure. It's because it's not a tree, and with trees you can measure age through rings, and this plant has no rings, but they reckon that they live for a really, really long time. And the strange thing too is that even though this plant lives for so long, it only ever produces 2 leaves. But as these leaves elongate and get really, really long, they get shredded by the Namibian winds in the desert, and they actually look like the plant has a lot more leaves than it does. Now, can you imagine something lasting for 2,000 years and never replenishing itself? It really is a strange plant. Also, this plant has central scarring, and the cones come out from this central scarring, and it looks very strange and very weird. In fact, everything about this plant is just completely different to other plants and completely off the wall. Now, you know, and probably saw my video about how I managed to track down seed for the Welwitschia and germinate it a little while ago. But the seed succumbed to the aspergillus fungus. The spores of the aspergillus fungus are ripe in Welwitschia seed. So despite my best efforts, my 3 seedlings died. But I am determined that I will try and get this plant again. Seed seems to be the only way to go. Plants, baby plants or little plants cannot be had for love or money. So I will look out for seed from a different source and try it again. Because how could I not? How could I not want such an amazing and weird and quirky and ugly and beautiful, because it's so ugly, plant as the Welwitschia? How could I not have it as number 1 on my wish list? And so with that brings me to the end of my top 10 wish list plants. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope that you might have some food for thought, even if it's just in terms of interest, but also perhaps it'll give you something to add to your wish list, which I'd love to hear about, by the way. I'd love to hear what you have on your wish list and what you're looking out for. Maybe you'll give me some food for thought that way. Anyway, thank you as always for watching. If you want to see my Welwitschia video, the one where I germinated the seeds, go and have a look back through the members only playlist. Also, I made a video about Masonia, and yeah, there's lots to look out for. Thank you as always for watching, and I will see you on the next video. Bye.